Hey everyone, Untitled here. So if you've never created a particle system, this is what it's going to look like when you first try to do it. It's going to be a nice sparkly with whatever texture you selected. And you're going to go, what am I doing? You can look at all these and you can try to change everything, and then you're going to figure out, then you can keep changing every setting and all that, so you're going to it's gonna take forever to mess with every single setting here. Just figure out what does what, because the descriptions they give you, they don't really help. They just tell you this is the emit rate. This is the they don't really tell you what it does really. So that's how confusing it was when I first started with the particle. And then when I was making this tutorial, I decided to try a different method. So what I did was I went into the particle creator and opened one that would be easy, which I know the fireball one's been easy because it's been there since torched. So I'm gonna look at it. No, I'm not gonna save it. So there's an easy particle effect right there. All it is just a combination of multiple particle systems to make it look like a fireball. So what I'm going to do as part of this tutorial is I'm going to copy one of them and then look at the changes from the default to the one that Runic made. So I'm not going to go open every window and all this. That's to make this too long. So I'm just going to quickly go through what has changed and what has not changed. And then I'll also put up a text version to say what changed, what didn't change, so you can look through it yourself and see what changed. So I'm going to use this example right here. So I'm going to play it just so we can see it. I'll move over a bit. I'm going to create a new particle system. And I'm going to just move it over so we can compare later on. And we're going to copy everything from this one. So everything except for these two, render style and texture, changed. I mean, everything except for those two did not change. So we're just going to quickly change those because I want to make this as short as possible because this process doesn't even be that long. And I don't want people to lose interest halfway through because I'm just going to be going this changed, that changed, okay, this changed. Oh, look, it's like that on default and it's that on this. Opening each and every window. That's not going to be a good tutorial. So I'm going to change the texture. The texture was array texture. Now inside the media folder, there's a particles folder. Inside the particle folder, there's a folder full of textures. There's a lot of folders, all textures. And for array is inside array. They use array number 17. So here it is. Now if you play it, nothing's going to happen because there's nothing to emit the particle. Inside every particle system is an emitter. So we're going to create an emitter, and then that's what happens. This creates a sparkler. It's going to sparkle all over the place, and this can confuse some people. You're going to go, oh shit, what did we change? So we're going to look at, so what I suggest you do is just to look at the properties for the one we're copying. Write down all the properties, and then just write down the value that was changed to. Like value that was at default, and then value that was changed to. So now, the strange thing is, Runic changed some stuff in the circle emitter, but I don't know why. They probably were experimenting with it while they were creating the particle. Because there was no point to it because the type of emitter was a point emitter. You can see in here there's circle emitter, line emitter, box there, and it's point. If it's a circle emitter, these settings will affect the way it emits. But it's not a circle emitter, it's a point emitter, so we don't need to worry about those. So for the dimensions, the depth was not changed, it's default 1. Fixed, false. Height, not changed. They want to make it bigger, so they changed the scale on the launch to 2. And then, yeah, there it goes, bigger. Width was not changed. Now, on to emission. Now, the chance to emit, this one, the first one there, they didn't change it. It's always 100%. It's always going to spawn. And delay, they did not change it. 0. Delay first, meaning it's going to delay the first one. It didn't change it. It's false. Emit duration, they changed it to 0, which is basically how long the particle lasts. How long the particle comes out. I don't know how to explain this. The description doesn't really help. But they said it is 0, meaning it probably means it's going to come out in 0 seconds. So, 0. The emit rate, they changed it. This is at 15, so it's pretty fast. It's flying 15 at a time, essentially. So they changed it to 2. So only 2 of them are going to come out. Or emit at a rate of 2 per whatever unit. Now, hide on stop, they did not change that. Number of loops, they changed it so that it does not infinitely loop. It's only going to launch it once. It's going to only loop once. Particle life, they did change it to make it a fixed value. So 10. Okay. Release over distance, didn't change it. For the movement settings, movement properties, angle, they left at 45 degrees. Velocity, that's what is going to affect it, how it moves. If it's at velocity of 15, it's going to move 15 units per whatever time unit they use. But they said the default is 15, so it's moving at 15 units per whatever time unit they use. They made it at 0, so it's moving 0 units per whatever time unit. That is getting annoying. I'm talking. Now for the properties, true, they did not change much on it except for the local, keep local to true. Now don't worry, that is just a refresh, and they said it so it doesn't expire. So the particles don't expire, and everything else is left alone. So now we have the particle effect. Now let's look at it. Let's stop it and play it. It's just going to spawn a few rays. Now we want to make a move. We want to make it rotate whatever direction. So we add an effector to the particle, which are all these. These are, tell by the name what they're called. They're things that affect the particle. So we want it to rotate, so texture rotate. By default, it's going to rotate like that. So we want it to rotate on its own axis. So, true. Now the rotation speed also handles the direction. Negative value goes one way, positive value goes the other. Runic made it so that it'll be going in random directions, and it'll look realistic that way. So they made it random. Minimum speed of -60 and a maximum speed of 60. Okay. Now let's stop it and look at it. There you go. And in addition to that, they also made the starting rotation random from 0 to 360. So let's start at a different angle each time. And there you go. It looks different each time you play it. And then that's pretty much all we really need to know. But they also changed the color, so let's bring out the color. Let's add a color effector. And then we change the color, any color you want. I'm gonna pick green, or some type of green, cyan. And they also made it so that it changes size. I mean, each one is a different size each time. So let's add a size effector, scale effector. And I think they made it fixed. And they changed, most likely they have a random value, like 1 to 2 or something like that, or it doesn't look right. I probably did it wrong. It's a random range, but that's a little too unnecessary, so let's just remove it. So there you go. We got ourselves a spinning ray. Now I'm not going to go into for the other 6 particle systems. You could do it yourself, and just create the particle, go each step, look at the changes on each of the properties, and then just create it that way. And then after that, you're going to put it into a missile, which we'll cover next. Oh yeah, let's look at what the emitter changed. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. We're going to look at what each changing these things change. We change the emit rate to 15 again. It's going to spawn a lot. I mean, it's going to emit at a faster rate. There you go, a whole bunch of it. It made it look like... Actually, I like this one more. It's like shiny. They made it shiny. And look at the other things. If we change the velocity, it's going to fly out. So let's change the velocity just to see what happens. Let's make it 3. Okay. Play. See? It makes a burst. Boom. Let's change the velocity back to 0. Okay. And that's really what really affects it a bit more so, but there's other settings that change the way it moves and all that stuff. We're not gonna cover it. You can look at it yourself and figure out. I'm eventually do a more in-depth tutorial on particles later on. Right now we just want to make a quick particle and put it into scale. So let's move on to the creation of a missile. So okay, we're going to create a missile. Now you see that I've opened the fireball missile, and that's what we're going to use really, because there's just so much settings in the properties that there's just too much that if you start from scratch, you're not going to show what does what. So we're just going to use what exists. That's actually what Runic recommends when they were like doing a tutorial on creating skeletons. They recommend you clone a lot. For some things, it's just better to clone because it's just too much to it that it gets tedious when you starting from scratch for most of them. So, especially when creating a missile, these things are just too much settings. You can make something home, like let's just say you can home me, change the homing after like 1 second. Probably when you see it, because it's not gonna, you're not gonna home it. There's nothing to home onto. We increase the distance to 30. There's just nothing to home onto, so let's increase the turn rate to 5. And true. See, these settings you not really know what to do. So let's change it back to default by opening it again. Don't save. So we're not going to really change too much. We're just going to change the particles. We'll probably get I would probably do a missile one after the particle one. Just a little more in-depth one, just messing around with the settings. But I'll probably update it on the wiki more likely because these things you gotta seeing it. You gotta do it yourself really. Just experiment with it. So I'm gonna go back to so instead I'm gonna select the my particle. I put it in the particle folder, spells folder, inside of a mod, and then I put it in the ball folder. Okay. The next one is gonna be green. There you go. Now we're not gonna worry about the die or the hit ones because we don't have them. So after we're basically done here, we just save it. No, we gotta change the name of it. Just for consistency's sake, we're gonna change it on this one to ball underscore ball plus ball underscore, and in here we are going to change this name to caps lock ball and then we are going to save as inside our media folder for the mod, a new folder we're going to call it missiles and save. Oh, forgot to name it. ball. Okay. Now we are going to create the layout, which is another regular layout. Again, it's better just clone. So let's open. I'll explain it though. Let's see. This one. I don't know why it's there. Oh, it crashed. Alright. Quit. No. Okay, let's get back to work. Okay, so we were at making a layout for the event. So is this one? It better not crash again. Okay, there we go. Now there's a sound effect. It's fire wand launch. And there's some sound volume. It's not weather sound. Starts on activation, which is false. And then on the reset on play, true. Radius of 10 is environmental, so if you follow it along with you, it's gonna only play within range. So, and then select the sound. And the timeline here basically it spawns at the beginning and plays a sound at the beginning. Spawn on load is false. Reset is true. Pause on unload is false. Layout control is true. Multiplier 1. Type none. Sends data over network true. Then these are the timeline settings. And then it is visible. So when it's visible, it plays the particle. This is when it's UI related. So we are already changing the unit spawner. Oh yeah, gotta reload the missiles. Excuse me. And then we are going to select our missile. Bomb. Ba-bomb. I mean ba-ball. And there we go. It won't play because it doesn't play spawns. So there it is. We created all the resources for the skill. So, oh yeah, we gotta save it. Don't forget to save it. In the skills folder, we're in create a quick skills folder. We're not gonna do it. I'm not gonna make it detailed yet. We're just gonna save it here for now. So There we go. What are we gonna name it? Ball balls. Ball balls. Okay. Save, and we are done. We have all the resources needed to create a skill that fires a fireball.